Ziggy D here, joined by my co-caster, Rise QT, and welcome back for some more PoE Sports. That's right, we have the third of 4 ExileCon race qualifiers for you today. And this is an any percent Act 5 Kitava kill with 1 minute death penalties. The prize is on the line for the Grand Victor, the winner, flights and accommodation, and an Ultra VIP ticket to ExileCon. Not only that, they'll also be participating in the grand finale race at ExileCon and securing their place in history. I mean, I still remember the previous set of races from ExileCon. A momentous occasion. And, well, ExileCons don't come around every year. At least for now, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, we've got hopefully a very exciting race today for you. We've had some absolute bangers so far. We had I'm Exile secure the victory week 1 with a time of around 1 minute 10 and 35 seconds. And Taitai Killer, despite dying to Kitava, getting punched, he managed to secure a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes and 19 seconds. So an absolutely phenomenal time. Rise, do you think we could possibly beat such a time today?
I think anything is possible. You know, the layouts so far have been very tricky, I think, for the players. In the initial race, we've had a ton of vol zones, which is very difficult because typically you don't account for that. So you're going to often run into the issue of just not being super familiar with a layout. And even if you are familiar with it, you're Carvarosco maybe, and you just know every layout no matter what, it's still typically extending layouts. So you might run into the problem of it, no matter what, being kind of unbeatable due to the length of the zones. But in the second race, we had a ton of shrines, and it was crazy. It was like every zone. But it was really mostly those impenetrable shrines. There wasn't really a whole lot of shrines that speed you the hell up. I mean, there was some diamond shrines, but I don't think we've seen one Dead and Doom shrine, also known as the Acceleration Shrine. Not even one time. So imagine a race like the last one, but with a ton of really positive shrines. It would be, I think it would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, then we'd maybe start to see the sub 105s. It's almost like we've had theme races. We had the Vile side area, tricky layouts, then the shrine layouts, and what are we going to see this time? Oops, all strong boxes, just strong boxes everywhere. Actually, that'd be pretty fun. The temptation.
I think strong boxes are not fixed in, but you know, you can just one of the players can just get a ton of them, right? And really, we also don't know quite what strategy people are going to be going with. There's been a lot of talk when it comes to duelist being very quick, but quite inconsistent. So I don't know if anybody's going to go for that risky strategy. It is definitely a possibility. I know Karn is one of the contenders for the top spot, and he's kind of admitted defeat when it comes to that class, and he's switched over to Templar, admitting that not only is it better and more consistent, but also easier. So I do wonder if how much easier it is for him is going to come into play today, as really he should perform really well today, I think.
I've been seeing Khan practice absolutely non-stop. That's right, he did try duelist in the first race, but like you said, admitted defeat there, or perhaps saw a grass is greener on the other side of the fence sort of situation, and has been practicing Templar non-stop since then. Like every time I boot up Twitch, he's there online, just non-stop back-to-back practice, getting his times down from like 110, 120 originally down to 110-ish range, which I don't know what his personal bests are, but that certainly gives him a strong shot. And the pressure's mounting now that we're in week 3, and we've been seeing, like, the first week we actually didn't see that many deaths, and then week 2 things started to get a little spicier. I wonder if people start to feel like, a little bit of that desperation. There's only those 2 slots left, and I'm Exile and Taitai Killer have got theirs. There's like 6 to 8 people who have a very strong shot at securing the 3rd and 4th positions here, and they're going to be duking it out and going all in for these last 2 races, I think. Especially next week, we might see some real risky plays, perhaps, because the time to play it safe is coming to an end, I think. What do you reckon?
Yeah. I think also for a lot of players, there's been a lot of unfortunate circumstances. We mentioned Karn, who's been having some server issues in the initial race. That also affected Keldorn, who's also European. Those players tend to have longer loading screens, unfortunately. But also players such as Havoc, that many people have great expectations of, and he hasn't quite been performing. And now we know that, in fact, he was sick, very sick indeed. And in the current race, I think he's feeling a whole lot better. So it definitely jeopardizes practice to a certain extent. But if we're talking about the GOAT of Path of Exile to many, I think Havoc is somebody to watch out for today. Especially since Killer and Exile are already qualified, but they might still be showing up today. I do know that Exile wasn't able to participate in the second qualifier. I think he's going to be around today. And Killer, I just don't think he's ever going to miss out on an opportunity to race at all. So we'll see. Will the winner be one of the previous people? And even if somebody like Havoc were to win, will they only be able to qualify through second place? I wonder if that might affect their, overall charisma and preparation for the actual finals. We'll see.
I would certainly love to see a return to I'm Exile and Tai having a bit of quality race practice, because I've said it before, but the best practice you can have is like on the day in an actual event where that extra pressure's on you. It's hard to replicate that. And practicing in all sorts of different uncomfortable situations. I was talking to Tai Killer, and he was talking about practicing with like uncomfortable chair setups and different mouse and keyboards, and with like bright lights shining in his face, because he was remembering back to ExileCon where like everything felt a little different, and it really throws you on the day. So that's sort of unusual. High stress practice is really something to go for. I'd also love to see some Havoc, and I do hope that he is doing a lot better, because he is one of the initial community builders of racing, hosting many events, being a damn good racer himself, and such a charming fellow as well. I love to see it. We've also had that mystery player rise, the mystery player who's been on a few different accounts, and there's been some speculation as to who they might be, but we've had some very strong openers, but if it's the same player, getting lost in zones a few times and having some upsets as a result. And I believe there was one in the first week, there was a death with no waypoints in the entire zone. So more than lost there, but strong potential though.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that player is practicing in waves, almost as if they don't have enough time. So for the initial race, they practiced like Act 1 and Act 2, and they performed really well there. But then in the next one, it was a little bit of Act 3, a little bit of Act 4, and you can really see that really Act 4 and Act 5 is mostly the places that are causing them a lot of problems. And those are really the acts that tend to be the trickiest when it comes to performance, because you do run a high risk of dying in both of them. There's a lot of mini bosses in Act 4. It's very dangerous. The players are playing with not a whole lot of HP at all, or defenses. But that player in particular, that some people might be speculating to be Type 23, is also playing a much safer, very, very safe, in fact, as they tend to not use Herald of Ash, they don't use Herald of Thunder or Herald of Ice. They go for that Determination setup, which is, yeah, again, very, very unusual. Nobody else is really taking, slowing themselves down, really, the way that they do. So maybe it shows a large degree of confidence as well. Look, guys, I'm going a lot slower, but it's still good enough to beat you. So we'll see if maybe that approach changes as we get closer and closer to the finish line, and there's going to be more volatile gameplay from some of the individuals. Like you mentioned, we've already been seeing a lot of deaths compared to the first race in the second one. Today might be even more intense.
So I was doing some investigations. I was watching the footage from Garast, the footage from Well-Rounded Cat, and the footage from last ExileCon, and trying to compare. And I noticed that the hotkey layouts for potions were different in those footages. So I'm like, it can't be the same person. So I put this theory to some of the people who were saying that it was all the same person. And they said that player is known for doing fake hotkeys using auto hotkey to rebind their hotkeys to throw people. Yep. I'm like, what? Oh, no way. Come on. So yeah, who knows?
He's got a couple very unique things that they've accomplished, such as very early game kills. I believe it's like a level 18 kill on Uber Elder with Stormbrand. And in those videos, some people were speculating also that there's some sort of overlay going on, that these things are not really possible, and maybe there are some tricks that they want to keep hidden. So we're gonna have to really wait and see if they're gonna show up today and how well they're gonna be doing, as we're still 5 minutes out from the race. To anybody who's eagerly awaiting the action. Um, but yeah, I can already see, even though you guys can't, that Karn is in fact on a ranger, and his only friend who is logged in is Tai Killer. Players will
Oh.
often, actually, it's the only friend that he's got on his entire friends list, which I think is a pretty good indicator as to who he respects the most and who he's expecting to be the highest competition. As frequently in racing, you know, you want to get a pretty good idea of who's nearby, and you're going to have those those opponent players on your friends list, and you're going to be frantically checking your friends list, what zone they're in, and how well they're doing. Because sometimes you can't really keep up, the API can't really keep up, so it doesn't really show the correct player level. But on your friends list, you can check it every time, and it's going to show 100% accurately.
Yeah, I was talking to Khan, and he said about last week's race that Tai Killer, he absolutely boomed him, and that he wanted to practice with him next season. So that I think is so going
Okay.
on there.
Nice reference. But Alex
Couldn't help
Pleblord
myself.
is also a player that people have been watching out for. And as I say
Yeah.
that Tai Killer shows up. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for the cast, but Tai Killer has some unusual attire today. Let's just say that.
Okay. Yeah, Alex Pleblord was someone that I've been hearing words about ever since week 1, but hasn't made it too consistently into the top 4 screens. But ImExile was practicing with Alex yesterday and was losing to Alex. Alex was being very humble, saying that he had some good layouts, but I think there's some strong potential there. So hopefully we see them. Hopefully see them in fine form today.
See, these are the things that I would really love to see. Everybody's been practicing in secret. There's very little broadcasting going on. People are loosening up a little bit, you know, doing some more public streaming when it comes to things. I know that a lot of people are streaming on like different accounts that are hidden. They're not even like using a directory just so they can record and study their own VODs on Twitch. And then the players have found ways to like find those streams, and it's just been like this crazy detective work that everybody's been putting in. Not a whole lot of public knowledge going around, but to see that somebody like Exile, who has already qualified, would be playing with Alex, it's pretty interesting. I think I also believe Tai Killer's title, although the streams are deleted, but Tai Killer's title was something like practicing with Exile. So Exile really making the rounds and helping everybody out a little bit, I think.
That's winner's mentality too, seeking out challenges like that to try and hone your edge. I love it. Let's switch on over to the racer cam as the racers are taking their marks. And I did hear that Garast may have logged in. That account may have gone live. So we might have a mystery player returning on their account from week 1, perhaps. Is very exciting. But on screen for you at the moment, we have Tai Killer up in the top left, looking very cute. Alex Pleblord in the top right, the player we were just talking about, who's been doing some very strong showings. We have Khan down in the bottom left, who's been practicing like an absolute madman. And then we have Keldorn in the bottom right, who I think you pitch as a strong potential for a winner here today, Rise, right?
Keldor, the master of overlays, master of layouts. He really does incredibly well in these events. Unfortunately, being from Europe slows him down quite a lot, but you will typically see him perform really well in Act 1 and Act 2. And by the time you roll around to Act 3, it gets a little bit slower. He knows where to go, but he needed, at least in the past, a little bit more practice, as I believe in the last qualifier, he was actually the first person to not only get to Act 3, but lead it most of the way, until inevitably he had a rip, and it seemed to have hurt him. It was emotional damage, as he has slowed down significantly since, and was not quite able to ever recover. But I think anything's possible. I think if Alex is competing with Exile, then Keldorn can as well. All these players are really putting in a lot of work, practicing all day and all night, and we're just 30 seconds away. I'm sure the nerves are eating them alive right now. Maybe not for Tai Killer though. He's as confident as ever.
as Chad is noting, he does have it in the bag. He already has his qualifier, so he can't qualify again. He can't take 2 slots. So if he does pull out another win today, that would be very impressive. Bragging rights for sure, but it would go to the player just behind him, the second place player, who would get the qualifier. But it's nonetheless very cool to see how their practice is going. And we have the 10-second mark, so players are holding down their left clicks on that crude bow, and we are off. The Rangers begin the race and jump on into it.
Got a quick refresh. I'm all caught up as I was a little bit behind, but now that the race has started, everybody's on a Ranger. Pretty typical strategy. We've talked about this in the previous casts, but generally what the players are going to be doing here is called a mule. So they're going to be checking the vendors, looking for movement speed boots, maybe looking for some wands, although in this race in particular, the wands aren't that important. As these players will be using a sword and an axe as their weapons with a crafted Act 3 flat damage to spells because of those recently added changes to the vendor recipes, which has kind of hurt racing in a little bit in terms of the early game speed, but players have really stepped up, and the times have not decreased. They have increased as the newly found leap slam speed is pretty incredible in these events so far.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we see the racers getting nerfed, you know, every so often, and yet still somehow pulling out faster and faster times. So like you said, the players are checking for movement speed boots. I do see movement speed boots for Tai Killer, so a very nice start for him. He actually had last week a super good race in terms of RNG as well. Had a few nice lucky finds. But the players are looking for red-green setups for their leap slams, preferably once again not on wands, because they do need melee weapons to leap slam. Coral Ring is a very nice pickup as well, because those rowers early on can be very dangerous, so getting one of those locked away can make for a lot of extra safety in the Breaking Some Eggs quest. And also looking for a 3 blue that's preferably not on a wand, so that they can still leap slam and cast their spells. We've also got a smattering of red sockets needed for things like War Banner and Holy Flame Totem. Though I am seeing some players move away from Holy Flame Totem a bit. Some people have been like, I don't have the red socket, not a big deal, it's kind of bait anyway. It takes a long time to place, a long time to start firing, and ultimately doesn't add that much extra damage over the Flame Wall and the Magma Orb, with the 2 main skills that we'll be seeing in the early game here.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people move away from that setup, especially in the ledge. Once you get to Brutus, I think Holy Flame Totem becomes a lot more important, but initially in these events, people have been using Holy Flame Totem to maybe clear some mobs in the ledge, as, you know, you no longer have to worry about something like Onslaught. You use momentum now. Therefore, you know, you're pretty much going at the same pace all the time, but yeah, as the scene has evolved, people have moved away from it, and you're going to be seeing all of these players picking up all them items from their stash, and in some cases, they're going to have enough wisdom scrolls, depending on the sort of items that they've bought previously, to purchase a Coral Ring, which heavily increases the survivability of their characters. You can see on Tite Killer's screen, he's got 103 life, and I believe that's with a plus 30 life Coral Ring, which will definitely come in handy in Act 1. Act 1 is super difficult. Karn lagging out a little bit. Already started heading off to a good start. He's got a lot of items, everything they have to equip. Generally, players aren't going to be killing mobs on the coast unless they get stuck. Tite Killer throws in some fireballs as he sees a pretty big pack. And now we're off to Mudflats, and how difficult that zone is going to be. You generally don't want to be fighting any blue mobs, but sometimes you don't have a choice. And if those mobs spawn as fire resistant, that adds a little bit more spice and tends to extend your Mudflats, if you want to do it safely anyway, by a pretty significant margin. No issues so far from any of our players, though.
Keldon had a bit of a struggle with gear at the start there. All of his items had red sockets, just non-stop red sockets. They're looking for some blues, but he does end up managing to get a 2 blue and a green, which is good later on, but not as helpful now. So he needs to pick up a 3 blue link soon. Also getting caught on some rowers in the Mudflats. Does pick up a pair of boots. I don't know if that's just the filter or if they were magic to see if they had some movement speed, but at least manages to get an augment, and 3 augments are required to craft movement speed. So if you don't get movement speed, a little bit later on, you can at least craft it for 3 augments when you go back to your hideout. So got started on that. It can actually be pretty difficult to get those 3 augments together in a race like this.
super difficult. Currency is very important. You're gonna need so many transmutes to craft resistances, to craft that flat spell damage onto your weapons. But as you've mentioned also, yeah, those augments are gonna come in handy in case you want movement speed. Some players like to run a little bit more and get around those pesky corners. Some players enjoy leap slamming all the way through. But nonetheless, you're going to need that currency. And another piece of important currency for these guys that they're going to be watching out for pretty much immediately is a chance orb or a fusing, because you can purchase a chance orb before a fusing in Act 3. And that will be used to purchase a cremation, their primary single target setup. For Titykiller, he didn't quite have it in the first race. In the second one, everything came together nicely, and you could see the result was immaculate. Despite having a little bit of a rip, but generally cremation, a very safe skill. It just allows you a lot of mobility and it does a ton of damage. A 3 blue link on a chess piece for Keldorn. Players are taking down Hellrake. Alex Pleblord struggling a little bit, taking his sweet time here as he's clearing out more mobs. Oh wow, he wants to level up. Interesting. I don't know if that's going to be worth it for Alex. Maybe his density hasn't quite been what he's been wanting it to be.
Yeah, trying to scoop up a few extra mobs during the Hellrake kill there to try and get that level on Hellrake. I know that players do get a little bit particular about what level they want to be for what content, especially in these early zones where their gameplay is very well refined. Those small differences can help a lot. Like, it can be the difference between a gem level on a major fight like Brutus or something like that. So that makes a big difference to those fights, making them faster but also safer in a lot of these. And Hellrake in particular could be a little bit scary too. Players usually want to level up just before Hellrake if possible.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that you can optimize with Hellrake as well. I mean, you can really, with the recent, well, not so recent changes anymore, you can really optimize your gameplay to speed yourself up. And that's generally what players are going to be looking for in all of these fights. Magma Orb, or Rolling Magma, excuse me, is a very tricky ability to use. It seems quite simple, you know, throw ball ignite, mob go boom. It's not you tend to want to double tap mobs by throwing the Magma Orb a little bit in front, but what's extra tricky with it, and we've seen a lot of players, especially on Brutus, get caught up in it, is the name locking. If you target the mob, no matter where you use your cursor, as long as you're holding down the button, the Magma Orb will continuously go onto where the hitbox lies, and that can slow down the player significantly and add a whole lot of risk as well, as they're having to do so many things at the same time. You can see from Karn's screen that, you know, he's constantly looking at his inventory. He's constantly trying to mess around with things, changing keybinds. Whenever he gets any amount of time at all, he's trying to min-max. Alex Pleblord drops an armor scrap and runs past it. He deems that it's not going to be important to get more wisdom scrolls, and instead will be opting on focusing on other things. Titykiller dropping a blue item as well, running past it. I wonder if they're really just this decked out, or if taking those few steps back is never going to be worth it for them, as this race is a little bit short. Oh, an augment, and Alex runs past it too. He has no respect for the movement speed. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about the augment skips, but all right. Titykiller looking in very nice shape here. He's got a very nice full set of gear already lined up and sorted out. And you mentioned that inventory management, and just pay attention to the inventories whenever the players open them up and just how messy they are. Players want to be loaded up on a bunch of unidentified items to sell. They need like 12 transmutes in the long run, so you have to sell a lot of unidentified items for that. And when you kill the boss and they drop a bunch of items and your inventory is messy, you've got that one flask just sitting in the middle of your inventory, it stops you from picking up a chest item or something like that from the boss. It causes you to just like flip those items and then you have to go back to town. You don't want to sit there fixing your inventory then when you're not actually running. They want to be doing it when they're running. And you look at Titykiller's inventory, immaculate. Love it. Garn's starting to get his under control. Keldorn's is very messy, but he does, I think maybe identify some movement speed boots there. A nice looking rare at least. But yeah, I want to get that. There's so much to be doing and so much to be considering, you know? Allocating those passes, organizing those inventories.
And Titykiller also is very known for not only his inventory management, but also his overall equipment management, as he runs over for a alteration. Titykiller's gear just tends to be really good, you know? A lot of players get safety from different passive skill tree choices and whatnot. Titykiller doesn't do that. He always goes for the fastest route on the passive skill tree and really optimizes his gear to a point where he feels safe and he doesn't have to slow himself down whatsoever. And right now he equips a chess piece. In the previous race, he had to equip the chess piece from the get-go, which, yeah, the movement speed isn't going to hurt them all that much from equipping a armor piece of gear, but for right now, it does make a big difference. Eventually, it won't because of the leap slam, and maybe that's why players are ignoring augments and they're not really getting the movement speed. But for right now, it certainly makes a big difference. So you don't want to be using a chess piece at all.
I think we're going to pull Havoc in, who is currently top 4ing, as well as I'm not sure if we have another one there potentially to pull in as well. So if we can get some swap outs maybe for Kant and or Keldorn, who are dropping a little bit behind there, we can see how some of the other races are doing. And at the moment, though, we do see Taita Killer and Alex Pleblord leading the pack on screen, with Taita Killer just getting into upper prison. So in very fine form today, it looks like, so far from his Act 1. But I would love to see some Jimmy G Buckets, aka Havoc, down in the bottom right now. He was moving his way into Brutus, actually, a little bit ahead of Tai Killer. I love to see it. It looks like he's in good shape today. Doing very well.
And you can see a little bit of a self-doubt in his nickname as well. His name is Havoc Too Old. I don't think so. So far, you're doing pretty well, Havoc. So keep that confidence up. And he will be the first person to start fighting Brutus. You can see that he's positioning the Flame Wall on top of the Holy Flame Totem to make sure that all of those projectiles get additional damage. The Magma Orb procs are immaculate. Wow, you can really see him clicking perfectly every time. He's stuck in a little bit of a corner that's going to make things tricky, but not really. I mean, perfect positioning from Havoc. That was an incredible Brutus kill. That was really good. He saved himself a ton of time here. We'll see what goes on for Tai Killer. You tend to want to stick close to Brutus, but not so close that you get yourself name locked with that Magma Orb. You can see with Havoc, he pulled him into the doorway. Tai Killer doesn't opt to go for that strategy. He wants him out in the open, but that will make it so that you have to cut those corners and make those turns not as wide, as you can get slammed and absolutely die at this stage in the game. No matter what, with 200 HP, that slam just kills you. But that won't be the case for Tai Killer here, as he will be the next person to kill it alongside Alex Pleblord, who's most definitely keeping up with an inventory full of gear. A lot of trading. Alex fumbling his vendor there a little bit. You have to have really good precision clicks when vendoring. You can see that he's standing away from the vendor, and that is very, very tricky to do. All these players are doing it and make it look easy, but every now and then you see that stumble, and it might not seem like much, but it does cost them a lot of time.
It's so hard when your hands are sweaty and you're a little shaky. Oof.
Oh yeah.
Havoc didn't have much gear going into that Brutus fight, but got very lucky, actually. Picked up a rare leather belt that he identified that looked insane, and he went from like 180 health to, he's at 250 now after picking that up and leveling up once. So it picked up a very nice safety belt right there, which he'll be using through the entirety of the race. So always nice to get a sweet drop like that. It's not unusual to see the players finish these races with all blue items, and they're only blue because they mastercrafted them, adding one affix. So that is not unusual, but anytime you can get a life triple res leather belt or something like that, certainly make things a lot easier, and could save you a few transmutes and not having to craft some resistances and things too.
Oh yeah, and it might even impact the choice of your bandit in Act 2. I know that some of the safer players, such as Exile or, well, supposedly Tai, went for the helping of Alira, but a lot of other players have gone for helping Kraton for that additional attack, cast, and movement speed, which makes a pretty significant difference here. As much as the movement speed isn't that impactful at that stage of the game anymore, once the players equip the Leap Slam, the cast and attack speed absolutely benefits the player greatly. Therefore, maybe for Havoc, maybe he was thinking about helping Alira here, as he tends to be a little bit safe, even though we've seen some unfortunate rips from him in recent qualifiers. But now that he's feeling young again, apparently, you know what? There's a real possibility that he's going to be helping Kraton as well.
He's invigorated here today and getting some nice currency there, and currently leading the pack a little bit, just slightly ahead of Tai Killer, at least as far as I can see on my screen, with Alex Pleblord also only just a few seconds behind, getting into Cavern of Wrath there, moving through some slightly dangerous zones. We haven't seen it yet, but I do remember from many classic races, the Accidental teleport into a pack of exploding squids. Will we see it in any of these races? Am I cursing someone? Well, we'll find out. But Havoc makes it through and gets to his Merveil fight. And we'll take a look at how clean his Merveil fight is. So far, so good. He's got that totem down and kept it up for its maximum duration. It can sometimes die early to the Ice Spears. It's nice if it can draw some aggro from you, but you don't really want it dying because it takes so long to place. Nonetheless, he's doing very nicely right now, maintaining good damage with the Magma Orb, but not really full uptime on that Flame Totem. But like some players have said, it's a bit slow. Is it really worth it? So
Yeah,
not really
absolutely.
opting for it too much there.
And we have a special guest coming in. Apparently, replacing Karn and already on Merveil, Garast is popping off yet again at rank 3 in terms of XP. He's doing really well. And we also thought that Exile is actually not competing in this one, but we're getting information that Keldorn Racer is apparently I'm Exile.
So come on, guys, come on. It's so confusing.
But what is his Twitch? Hello? Help.
Question mark? We do have our mystery player Garast back in the bottom left, gets his Merveil kill and gets an insane number of rare items from it. So squaring away several transmutes there, maybe some alchemy shards or something, depending on if any of those get identified. Looks like none of those probably, well, a couple identifiers there, picking up a little bit of alternate currency perhaps. But Garast looking like he's very set up right now. Those leap slams looking nice and fast. He's got his flask sorted out. Unlike, say, Taita Killer, who's having a little bit of issues with his flask. Isn't his Merveil kill right now?
Oh, Alex. Wait, Alex, but Merveil's dead too. Oh, wait, but he does get the waypoint. If he killed Merveil, he should have the sudden waypoint, but he's not going to be able to pick up the gear. There's so much gear there, an entire transmute's worth. Alex. I mean, obviously he's gonna have to respawn in town. He's not gonna have to rerun 2 Merveil, I do believe, because of that kill. So he's gonna be able to go to Southern Forest. Yeah, he's showing it right now. But the problem is that, yeah, he has to sit in town for an entire minute. A very unfortunate death. We're gonna be able to get a replay for you guys soon. Pretty tragic.
You don't want to die, but that is like the best death you could have, is right after the boss dies and you get that waypoint unlock. So kind of perfect. Min-maxed death, really. Good job to Alex Publord on that. Sorry to see it, but as we've seen though, that 1 minute penalty sometimes is not enough to take you out of the running though. So hopefully we see a strong comeback from Alex, as he's only lost just a little bit of time there. We'll have a clip.
Guys, we'll hit you guys with a nice refresh. Apparently, there's quite a bit of a delay. And look, suddenly, Alex Publord teleported. He's cheating. Going significantly faster than anybody in the stream ever thought. But I had the real information all along. And with just that, he's already in Act 2. Surprise.
An
acceleration shrine for Havoc. He's blasting. Okay.
There was
2? 2?
Back-to-back acceleration shrines, one in Crossroads and one in the actual shrine as well. So Havoc may have picked up both of those, but I saw Tata Killer with the early one. But look how that's a perfect shrine right on that massive long distance you have to travel right there, saving so much time. But if all the players go the same route, they should be able to pick up the same shrine. So hopefully that is the case for them. Some very nice drops for Havoc there. His character was a bit under-geared, but he's catching up and then some on the gearing, it looks like. But he just vendors, he's already got his boots sorted. He just vendors the boots. He's already sorted out, apparently. Not even a problem.
Well, yeah, links are going to be a big problem. Act 2 is very, very tricky. Act 1, you tend to gear. You really want those links. You really want to focus on so many things all at the same time. But Act 2 is all about speed optimization. And the faster you go, the trickier optimizing the rest of your inventory is. And yeah, with that acceleration shrine that we haven't seen in the previous qualifiers, things are going to be even more dangerous. Act 2 tends to also be a little bit of a mess, you know. Different players are going to have different strategies. You might take a little bit of a different route, a different bandit, depending on the amount of XP that you've got. Generally, what people want is level 20, but if you're getting really good blue packs, if you're getting really good shrines, you're going to be killing those mobs. If it's a really good big pack, no matter how much it slows you down in terms of zones, getting that extra XP just means that when you get an opportune moment with maybe not so many mobs, you're going to just be running really, really far ahead and saving yourself much time there. As we've seen a lot from players such as Garast. In the initial qualifier, I believe he was somewhere around 3 levels above everybody else and not so far behind in zones. Unfortunately, he ended up throwing it a little bit away with some unlucky layout reads. But speaking of layouts, I'm seeing Einhard on Garast's stream. And keep in mind that even though this is fixed seed, players will have the same shrines. They won't have the same mobs, but they will have the same layouts. There is a little bit of a bug, and Einhard tends to make those zones slightly different for players. So if you're seeing some small differences, it's not rigged. It's just the situation. You know,
I don't know, mate. It looks
just be
pretty
like
rigged.
that.
That's probably the worst Einhard to get as well, because it's the Chamber of Sins, which both Killer and Havoc got the Acceleration Shrine, but Garas sadly misses out on this one. I kind of robbed, actually. That Einhard stealing the Acceleration Shrine and only giving him a Replenishing Shrine instead. Far less useful. So kind of
I take it back.
unfortunate there for Garas.
It is rigged. that is just not fair. Havoc's already fighting Weaver. His potions pretty good, not a whole lot of mana, but with those ads he's going to be able to refill their potions really well. And really that precise banner play is very important here. And as I say that, Havoc's got 50 stacks. Will he be able to blow up Weaver here the second that she comes down? Here we go, places the banner any moment now. He's forgetting about the banner. No, it's already placed. Okay, he's good.
Come on, Russ. There we go.
The windows are so small. I'd want a full screen, but there's too much happening.
Speaking of full screening, we do have a clip of Alex's earlier death to check out, which I'll bring up just now. So this is his Merveil rip for those of you who missed it, which was kind of impeccably timed. It eats a few hits from the explosive squids there and gets one of the Geysers spawned just below his feet. And just to recover from that, okay. Getting harangued by the squids, cornered in between 2 of the Geysers and then taken down. Definitely a bit of an upset there, but once again, good timing because he had killed Merveil in that clip. So kind of the
if Merveil hasn't, if she wouldn't have died, that might have been game over. Honestly, that probably would have been the biggest setback ever.
Yeah, having to rerun the entire zone to get back to Merveil, absolutely brutal because there's no waypoint in there. That's 2 zones you got to run, and that's a bit more than the 1 minute that he lost, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Havoc killing Kraken, so it seems like no matter what, he's going to be going for that safer strategy, dropping a lot of rare items. Rare items is very important. At this point, you don't only need the transmute, so you're vendoring the unidentified items, but you also need alterations. So depending on your drops, you might get some useful items that you're going to be IDing, or you're going to be vendoring them for alterations. Which is going to be the case for Havoc. He's still going for those transmutes. Very important. And as I say that, he drops one, having to go back for it, but it's going to be worth it. These players are running incredibly good filters that tend to read out exactly the sort of currency that they're dropping. So making sure that it is, in fact, the transmute that he's going back for. And really good stuff from Havoc so far.
Yeah, I like the filter tech. That's something you folks don't get to see from watching the cast here, but from the racer's perspective, you'll see them calling out exactly what they're looking for. Things like new sword, when the new sword base drops, for example, so they can get that faster attack speed for their leap slam, which is quite cool. But I still reckon one of the racers should at some point try a filter that just says faster every time something drops. So I think that's the real secret tech. A filter that's just constantly going faster, 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 faster. I think that could really make a difference. I want to see someone try that for sure.
It absolutely does. I mean, well, maybe not that in particular, but I do know from Exile's practice, as he's been practicing with Gucci a lot, his times went up significantly when he improved his filter. So filter game is very, very important here. We're getting information that Quantric, a crowd favorite, I believe, is also doing incredibly well, but there's just so much going on in Act 2 right now, guys. I think as soon as we get into Act 3, we're going to have a much clearer standing anyway, but a much more competitive race than the previous ones. Already in the previous events, we've seen pretty large gaps in Act 2, but here, players are neck and neck, as Garast will be the next person to take down Oak, with Havoc already in the Vol Zone, and Killer searching for a Lyra.
Havoc hungering for that ExileCon slot, and I would love to see it. He's got a very nice race. I think he said he was a little off his last week, so we didn't get to see too much of him, very sadly for me. He's one of my favorites, but he's having an excellent showing here. We might be able to sub Quantric in, perhaps for Alex Pleblord, to have a little bit of a look in on how they're going, and see a little bit more of the field. This race is nice, actually, as we didn't get too much of a chance in the previous weeks to see everyone, you know. So we're bringing Quantric in on the top right now, who is currently embattled with Oak, which can be quite the battle, as Oak is a little resilient these days. I'm sure many of you have encountered this first person, but he can take some killing.
To play. It's super tricky to play with Magma Orb as well, because, well, he melees, he leap slams on you all the time, so it's so hard to hit him twice. You can do it, as you can see, Quantric is struggling to, but every now and then, he did get some of those double hits. And yeah, Quantric has been performing really well in previous qualifiers. Tends to be known as a very, very good racer, but not quite good enough so far. And with Havoc being so dangerous, I really want to see more from Quantric. We're gonna have to wait and see. As yeah, I mean, Titan Killer's here. We can see him. He was the second person to take the qualifier. The first person that was able to take the first qualifier was Exile. And he is actually participating, but he is not, in fact, streaming. So I wonder if he's looking to dominate with some secret strategy here, or if he isn't. But nonetheless, Havoc is in the lead in terms of XP and most likely zones, as Quantric picks up that Acceleration Shrine, having helped Alira, and will be hopping his way over to the passive point, which not everybody picked up in the initial races, but everybody now has recognized is very, very important. Saving yourself that extra passive, allowing yourself to be one level lower when you're fighting bosses in Act 5 is just so crucial. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of time to get there at all, especially if you've got an Acceleration Shrine.
Seen a very nice Acceleration Shrine there through those zones. We've had a few ones this race. You were saying it. You were speculating. And nice to see a few speeding up some of those times. And Havoc so far on pace for a very good time. Grass sadly did miss out on that one, but hopefully has a nice clean run from here on out, and is hanging in that top 4 pretty comfortably at the moment. And right now, though, it's Havoc's race. He's leading the pack very, very comfortably, and it looks like he's back to his old ways. I'll love to see it.
Havoc really doing really well. Let's not get too overconfident, however, because, well, this act is very tricky. It's very confusing. You could see that Titan Killer has already gone to Act 1 and picked up his Lightning Warp for some Act 3 and Act 4 skips, depending on the sort of layouts that these players are going to be getting. But Havoc getting, oh wow, Havoc getting super lost in a very basic layout here. He should be going to the far right immediately, but he goes up. I believe that was a misread from the layout from last week with Keldorn, unless it actually was in the middle. There has to be a shrine somewhere in this zone. I wonder if everybody else is going to be running into this. This is why Keldorn will be good to be shown on the screen. Hold on. I'm going to check on my own. Was Keldorn getting lost too? I don't think so. Yeah, Havoc had the top right read. He would have been so much faster if he immediately went to the right. Keldorn, unfortunately, not quite there yet. And Garas running into the exact same problem. Uh-oh. I mean, they had the right idea, but there's just no connection in the top right. Uh-oh. Yeah, a lot of time wasted from our leaders right now. Giving an opportunity for other players to catch up, as Titan Killer will not be able to survive a very deadly pack of mobs. He does go down, takes a sip, and what does he do?
He does go. He properly goes down, Raz. Oh no, he was. I slightly delayed there, but oof.
Hit that refresh button.
I also take a sip for that. Yeah, I'm gonna give that a refresh. A little slow on that one there. Titan Killer, looking like he's here for practice, but looking like he still wanted to secure the win, but does suffer an unfortunate death there. And I think he might be done with his practice run for now today. So not RuneScape today. Not RuneScape.
Okay. Yeah, they do have a V Rising fresh server with some Path of Exile pros such as Izaran and Nugian. I think Karn is playing there as well. So
we'll give thanks to Titan Killer for the display of racing prowess here, at least for the early game until the upset. And we'll get Karn back in for the moment to see how he's doing and we'll give Clap Tata Killer off. Better luck in his future practice runs in the lead up to ExileCon.
And typically we have a whole lot of players here fighting Vol, but right now the only one that's going to be doing it is Havoc, who's very close to actually killing him. A very good pattern. You can see a lot of rare items. Maybe we can continue to watch it for a second more so you guys can see the amount of speed and effort that goes into this vendor reaction. He actually vendors Did I see a transmute vendor? He has 10.
He's got 10 already.
2.
I told you he's been getting tons of gear. Look at him. He's got so many, so much currency. Dude's rich. He's saving up for his end game gear set on this character. He's taking this character to maps. He's already got the currency.
Dropping a scour. Is that for good luck? What's going on? I believe he dropped that out of his inventory. Interesting.
Well, he should pick it back up.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he needs it. You see, scours remove properties from gear. He wants to add them, Ziggy. He doesn't need that scour, and he leaves it on the ground. Can't get Chad move. Okay, let's go.
Oh,
the disrespect. If only the other players knew.
I could have used that scour. See, a nice pair of boots from Havoc, and he's actually considering the swap and is indeed trying to take advantage of it, actually. So swapping over to a nice new pair of movement speed boots there. He already had move speed boots, but these ones have more properties. Would not want to accidentally click a scour on them, and maybe that's why Garaz dropped that scour. You know, the risk of accidentally right-clicking your movement speed boots. You don't want to do that.
You know, as players are continuing to progress, and we're talking about rips. Let's hit a big one. The Tai Killer rip. I believe he had a Caustic Life Flask that was keeping him permanently out of mana. And you can really see it here. He's struggling to get that shrine. They give a ton of XP. There's a lot of mobs, but it's also very dangerous. Wow. So many explosions, so many pops. Not able to go up, not able to go down. Tai Killer will forfeit this race. And thus he doesn't believe that he can recover. Yeah, very brutal set of packs. Again, the layouts are fixed, the shrines are fixed, but the mobs aren't. If you get a really bad pack of mobs, you might just die, where another player would just be able to, you know, simply run past it.
It was interesting because, like, he decided, did the smart thing. You know, he left that shrine of monsters that was causing a lot of grief. You know, potentially going to take him down, but then ends up face checking into a doorway that just had even worse monsters waiting behind it. So
Ziggy, look at Havoc's layout in crematorium. Such a good read and an acceleration shrine.
We are
okay. Listen, it's not rigged. I promise it's not. Karn. I think Karn died. Yeah, Karn is absolutely dead. Dies in, I believe, caverns. Did he have a portal up? I don't think so. I don't think he made it into the waypoint either. We're gonna get a replay for you guys soon. But I think what's important right now for you guys is to take a look at the ladder. Therefore, maybe some players that you recognize over here. Anybody that you might like in particular that you would like for us to switch in as it loads in. Hold on. It's okay. There we go. Grass at the top, Keldar in second, Havoc third, and Quantric currently in fourth place. Yeah, it's actually Quantric.
Okay.
Throw me away, it's the same nickname as last race. He's definitely gaming for sure. So Keldar actually second despite those longer loading screen. I think he's the one who's going to be taking our spot here. Let's find him over production. There you go. Keldar in Act 1. Yeah, a lot of vendoring going on.
I'm just kidding. Going back to those passives and the vendoring action. Very nice. Yeah. We did see an unfortunate upset for Khan. We'll take a look at the clip in a second when we can. But he's having a very nice race and he's been practicing non-stop. So that's got to be quite upsetting to have such a death like that. I didn't actually get to see what it was. So I look forward to checking out the clip, which we are bringing up right now. Let's take a look at the Khan death there. So moving through the Northern Forest, takes care of that pack just comfortably, is in the... So it doesn't happen in Northern Forest? The start of Caverns?
No, Caverns. Yeah, very brutal place to die, and I don't think he gets the waypoint. Pretty unfortunate clip. But what is happening? A
big old shrine packed with monsters, and what... Just looks like he ate a bunch of projectiles there. So very
Mhm.
unfortunate upset.
Ground
For
Slam
Khan
is
there.
back for the Bears. Unfortunately, not so much for the
Ah,
players.
I see. I couldn't
Yeah,
even
just
really see what killed him in that one.
those
So swift.
Bears. Those
Ah,
Bears are just so nasty in Act 2. They're immediately out of town when you leave the Sarn encampment, and they're also in the caverns. Squantric is dropping low, playing it not so safe here. He wasn't even shocked, and he's losing a lot of HP. So, as you guys can tell, very risky business from our players here. Really playing it close and too close for some players because yeah, well, we've seen a lot of rips already, and not even in Act 1, which again tends to be kind of the scary act, and same for Act 4. Scary act, a lot of mini bosses. Havoc will be the first person to enter Solaris Temple level 1. There have been some changes to the layouts in Solaris 1 and 2. Some of them very much loved, and some of them very much hated by the racing community. So let's see what kind of read Havoc can get here. We're going very fast so far. I mean, we're only at 35 minutes and 15 seconds. And our players here with those acceleration shrines are doing incredibly well. I think this is definitely faster than last week.
yeah,
Yeah,
right now we're on
sure.
pace for Havoc, and Garas not too far behind. Looks like about one zone difference between Garas and Havoc. I'm trying to get an idea of their current XP and how
Uh-oh.
that's playing out. What? I
Garas
clicked
gets an
away quickly.
acceleration shrine that Havoc missed. So even though
Oh,
he's a
the
little
catch
bit
up.
behind in zones, Havoc is finding a giant blue pack, but that acceleration shrine might allow Garas to catch up in terms of XP. Maybe they are actually ahead. Garas known to be a player that tends to focus on those kills, fighting a blue pack. He will be the player to hit 25, but not the first one. He is a player, but not the first one to do so. I believe Havoc is maybe. Wait, is Havoc already there?
Keldon
There's
actually
no
a
way.
little bit over leveled despite being a little bit further behind, has done a little bit more killing and maybe lost a little bit of time in that, but is at least a full level ahead there.
Oh,
It looks
wow.
like, according to the ladder.
Hold on, that's gotta be delayed. There's no way. Keldorn
Oh, is
hits
it the fake
23.
Keldon? Is that the fake
Oh,
Keldon? Oh, that's I'm Exile. Is that I'm
it could
Exile?
be I'm Exile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Dang
Exile.
it. We're getting tricked.
Tricky
That's right.
guy, not
Keldon's in
streaming.
fifth rank right now at 22. Yeah, I'm Exile is currently leading the race at level 25, but I believe is not streaming. Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, but
Wow.
we're getting tricked by the players being a little bit sneaky with their account names there.
Yeah, and Havoc just hits 25, so Exile is really at a giant XP lead. Has he been getting great packs, or is he just going that fast? I mean, those acceleration trends are super impactful. We haven't seen Exile in the second qualifier, and he's been practicing. So, I mean, the scene has evolved, the players have evolved. Exile knows he has to not just qualify, but also win ExileCon. So, he's definitely not easing up over here.
He's
We're
a
gonna have to
gamer.
wait and
He's
see
been
how this
participating in
finishes.
other esports events and yet still doing his Path of Exile practice, and now secretly practicing off stream in this race and apparently leading the pack despite Havoc having a very, very nice run today.
Yeah, I think they won a race in Doctor Arrival video game, I think. So Exile really just can't stop winning. But will that be the case here? Hmm.
Well, we'll keep an eye on the ladder and let you folks know how he goes. But for now, though, he's already got his qualifier. For now, it's all about whether Havoc can secure his qualification for ExileCon and get that win here, or whether it is up for someone else. I mean, it's still pretty close. Both Garast and Havoc in docks right now. Garast desperately looking for that quest item. But docks is at
Hmm.
least a nice place to pick up a bit of XP. If you're going to get lost anywhere, it's probably going to be docks, and at least you're going to be getting some nice XP while doing it. Rare coral ring drops for Garas, but just decides to not pick it up, is already pretty well geared apparently, because that's a decently nice
Oh,
drop,
wow.
but players are interested in those resistances now. And,
Yeah.
it's not guaranteed that the rare gets it.
Yeah, resistances are very, very important. I mean, even attributes can be tricky in a run such as this one. There's a lot that you need. I believe I actually ended up forgetting to mention it, but Keldorn actually had a sniper's mark in Act 1. It dropped in Ledge, so we didn't. I don't think we got to see it, but even little drops like that might be a pretty big benefit, as Magmorb is projectile damage. So And you're mostly focusing on hit. The players are running Elemental Proliferation pretty much all the way through. They don't really take 4 links into account, as they tend to not drop in a short format such as this one. But that Elemental Proliferation going all the way with them to that Kitava kill. Quantric will be able to find the Deceleration Shrine. Guras dropping low as he's fighting Gravicious. A tricky boss fight, but a necessary one to be able to use Cremation. And a Diamond Shrine at the very end of the Ebony Barracks zone. That being said, however, Havoc is already in Lunar's Temple 1. Not first. Again, we're... ooh, he's getting a little bit stuck there. Exile is first, and he's keeping it a secret. But...
Havoc definitely having a bit of grief in Lunaris 1 here, getting caught on a couple of those nasty mob packs. And these monsters in here can be very scary. Grass narrowly avoiding a a chain hook from Cole there as well as he leaps on past. And you would hate to be grabbed by that. Definitely slow you down, certainly. Not exactly where that stun and that yoink across the screen is not what you want, but having pick up some nice XP here in Lunaris 2 gets an excellent read on the zone and a clean run so far. This next little bit after the first set of stairs can be a little tricky. Sometimes can be easy to miss something there, and there was a potential little route there, but Havoc probably knows those layouts better than me, and I hope that is the case and that he has read that correctly, and it looks like he does, and picks up the next set of stairs there, using that cart to find the right direction on the final approach.
Yeah, and Lunaris Temple 2 is a very, very tricky zone. Layout knowledge plays a huge role. It used to be a very easy zone. There was one small tile that really determined the entirety of the layout at the start of the zone, but it is no longer there. GGG recognized that, you know, the players can't have it too easy, and they removed it, even though really, well, nobody really knew about it other than these players racing here. But because of that layout change, many players have had to learn these zones, and both a correct read from Havoc and from Garast. Really incredible work from them, saving themselves a ton of time. We're gonna have to wait and see whether or not other players are going to be able to do so as well, as Havoc is already fighting Piety, and she's going down quite quickly, teleporting over to a blue portal. Havoc risking it, no flasks present. He will be fighting her, and Ignite will take her down, but that wasn't as clean as he probably wanted it to be. Still a very, very quick fight. But quite risky there for a second. Very dangerous stuff.
He's doing the smart thing and playing a little safe. I saw him skip the rare strong box just before Piety, and then Piety went into that ice form. He could have tried to get the kill, but he let the Ignite do the job. A little slower, but much safer, which is good, because it is his race to lose, as you are fond of saying at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, well, Exile is winning, but he's not streaming, and you know, he's already qualified, so
I think we did see a unique item for Havoc as well, was it? Did we see one in his inventory? Yeah, it looks like he picked up
it's a black heart
iron ring, which we'll see. He's already got a nice little pair of rings there with those nice resistances, and the black heart at this point doesn't really do too much. On an attack build, it's great. A lot of chaos damage to attacks. On a spellcaster, doesn't really do much. Just a bit of regen, and that's about it. So,
some HP, you know. Sells for an alteration.
Yeah, exactly.
Some alchemists. Apparently with Exile already in the Scepter of God. Players are really pumping here. And Exile, we do know that he's a super well-rounded player. He's really mastered all the acts. He doesn't peak in any particular act like some of our other contenders. Havoc tends to be a very well-rounded player too. And we're going to have to wait and see from Garast. Is he going to... has he practiced past Act 3? Will his Act 4 and Act 5 be as clean and smooth as these ones so far? I hope so, for his sake. As Keldorn has no flask, he's getting arced on. Ooh, jumps into the Diamond Shrine. Okay.
Right through it, leaping right through the Diamond Shrine. No fear, despite that near miss just there. Very risky play, but does somehow manage to survive. There's actually like a sandwich of shrines there in the entrance of Lunaris Temple. 2 shrines right next to each other with packs on either side. It's almost like a perfect ambush, but Keldorn navigates it perfectly. So on fine form today, avoiding some potential death pitfalls there. I definitely could have claimed a lesser player. I'm Exile doing really nice in the background there off stream. slaying the doubters. Anyone who was thinking that, you know, he got that qualifier in that first race, you know, before people were polished, and the time, you know, not as good as the times we're seeing now. Well, putting to rest any doubts now with a damn fine run in the background and just showing that, well, not showing that prowess secretly in the background, but the stats don't lie. Unless Havoc now starting the Dominus fight and full screening him, taking a look, takes down those ads very cleanly with that cremation, looking very nice there with that damage. Just on the 2-link for cremation right now, but that's more than enough. Got that Armageddon brand up on the 3-link as well for the extra damage.
As long as you've got the cremation, I think that's the really important part of it. You know, the additional link is a benefit, absolutely, but the cremation being present to replace your Magma setup is very important. He actually opts to go for the determination play. Okay, interesting. Havoc knows he's good enough, so he can play it a little bit safer with enough lightning resistance. You're going to be able to face tank Dominus's face here, and he does just that. Messing around with his inventory, having a lot of time to really mess with things. A little bit of nervousness, messing up his keybinds, but, you know, takes control of it in the end. Will he be able to do this quickly enough, or will he run out of time? Wow, okay, that's really clean. And a conk effect on his Wave of Conviction, a large amount of single target and AoE damage. Pretty clean so far. We've seen some unfortunate deaths at Dominus. Havoc has no flash, gets a recovery there, and the Dominus will be going down. That was risky. Players are really risking a lot here today. I gotta say, typically we've seen some clean runs and we've seen not a whole lot of dying. But now people aren't exactly dying, but they're coming pretty darn close.
A very nice kill there by Havoc, and Grass in his second phase of Dominus now looking very nice on a 3-link for his cremation and Armageddon brand, so a little bit more damage there, although a little bit of mana problems there. He runs a little bit low for a second, but cremation keeps doing damage and Armageddon brand keeps doing damage, so doesn't matter that much ultimately, and gets his kill as he moves on through into the next act, and the leap slamming through the aqueducts, chasing hot on the heels of Havoc right now. So close. If these two races can keep up this level of competition through to the end, with no upsets for either of them, it's going to be a very exciting finish for us. Hopefully not cursing them. We have had some caster cursing in previous previous races last time. Quantric managed to secure his 4-link. He's got his 3 blue and a green 4-link there, so it looks like just using that for the 2 3-links though, I believe, possibly. Well, taking full advantage of it, but not actually having a 4-link setup, it looks like.
I mean, it still is a pretty large benefits. Those 2 3-links allow you to itemize the rest of your gear a lot more offensively or defensively, so it's quite valuable. And also, it's one of those things where you just don't have to worry about your links till the end of the run, and you can really focus on gear, which makes those mini bosses a lot safer, right? So it's definitely something that you want, but not exactly something that you're counting on, as Havoc will already take down the rest. So is entering the mines, will not be the first player to do so. Again, a friendly reminder that Exile is in fact in the lead. Havoc won't be clicking the soul fight. He's not playing with Nico whatsoever. He could get a stack of alterations though. Would that be worth it? Probably not. It's a lot of wisdom scrolls. It's 40 wisdom scrolls. Think about the amount of coral rings he could buy. Damn.
People also getting confused about the I'm Exile on the account called Keldon, wondering if Keldon's stream is delayed. That is I'm Exile, folks. Currently racing on an account called Keldon, just to try and confuse us as much as possible. But Keldon is doing very nicely nonetheless, and moves into his Dominus fight, taking down those ads perfectly. That Wave of Conviction doing some absolute work there with the cremations, already up in the right position. And that's the difference between a good player and an amateur, right? Having those cremations where those mini bosses spawn, because he knows where they spawn. It's ready to go before they are even ready to begin the fight. So it's already doing damage right as they appear. Perfect stuff. Quantric, meanwhile, in the same phase, so very close between Quantric and Keldon here, battling it out to try and see who can make a big catch-up play against Guras and Havoc.
And Havoc really getting close. His Act 4 pretty good so far. Really nicely not overkilling things. XP tends to be very problematic in this act. You have to really focus on what you're doing. Keldon Racer, which is Exile, will be the first person to get level 32. which is pretty much exactly where you want to be, as he is in the Reso's Dream. And we've seen some variety here as well when it comes to the Reso's Dream. We're going to be probably seeing it here from Havoc. I do believe that he's got a Lightning Warp, as he has gone to Act 1. And will he be skipping the cages, as you can if you know exactly the strategy to do so, or will he be XPing? I think he tried to go for the skip, but he messed
It looked
up.
like it. He paused there for a second, but you can't.
Maybe
It's a bit hard to do there. You can kind of go diagonal, but a bit of an awkward one. Interestingly, I've actually seen people do skip with Frostblink. They Frostblink into the corner, wait without moving, and then Frostblink again. It's a little slower, but a little easier to perform. And I didn't even know it was possible, but I saw that in some practice runs. But nonetheless, no skip there for Havoc, unfortunately.
As long as you don't move, it's pretty good stuff. But maybe there's also a possibility that he saw the blue mobs and he really went for it. Those cages used to be something that you would skip 100% of the time, because just density and everything worked a little bit differently in the past. But now, apparently we do have a stream from Exile. Well, we really could have used that earlier. We're going to be switching him over. We're going to be switching you over for you guys very, very soon, as we get information from behind the scenes. That is, in fact, a possibility. But yeah, those cages, not always skipped, as they do give a lot of XP, and XP is very, very important here. You want that precise XP. And who are we switching out? I mean, Garast is really popping off, and Keldorn is slightly ahead of Quantrix. So I believe that to see whether or not...
Chop him.
Chop him?
Brutal, yep. Chop him. It's always brutal when you cut someone out of the top 4 screens, but we're going to take a look at Exile, who was trying to sneakily practice on an alt account on the down low, even label himself as a... What is he doing? He was trying to get that Lightning Warp. It wasn't quite popping there, but he gets it in the end. But nonetheless, Exile currently moving through and heading his way to the Calm fight. So if he's already done Dureso, which presumably he has, he's got a nice little lead here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of variety here, depending on the amount of XP that you've got. Some players opt to pick up the Dureso waypoint and go over to Comb to do those both of the lower level zones earlier, and now go into a level 38 Comb Stronghold. But I don't know if that's the case for Exile. Maybe we're going to have an opportunity to see his inventory. I mean, any moment now we're going to find out. I know that Havoc wasn't too far behind. I don't think he's done. He has done the Reso. Okay. So now he's just popping. And it's a double skip too, is it? No, it's not. Excuse me. I thought it's going to be a double skip zone. It's not going to be the case for any of our players here, unless there's an Einhar zone. Maybe, well, actually, that would save you a lot of time if it was Einhar in the zone and then you get the double skip because of it. That'd be pretty crazy. Exile killing Comb already really fast on that kill speed with the cremation, just going at a super speed. Really nice, precise leap slams. I gotta say, one of the conclusions that Exile had in the previous races was that his leap slams just weren't good enough. You know, he's known to be a player that shield charges better than any other, and his leap slams weren't nearly as good. But now that he's watched himself play and he's practiced a whole lot more, his leap slams are pretty freaking crazy. And this Belly of the Beast level 1 read is gonna also save him a lot of time. These layouts, there's like 17 different layouts in this zone. It's pretty ridiculous. Not 17, it's like 9. It's pretty ridiculous. Same for Belly of the Beast 2. I know both of these zones have caused him a lot of trouble in the past, especially in the first qualifier that he did end up winning. I know that he's practiced a lot ever since then for many, many hours, and it's going pretty well. He does drop low, but the layout on the read on the layout is incredible. Really well done there.
Let's go back for a transmute to try and maybe get some of those extra resistance crafts. But chat's saying that he practiced that zone specifically, Exile, 10,000 times, which might be a slight exaggeration, but maybe only a slight exaggeration.
Yeah, maybe slightly. I mean, I don't want to bore you guys. I do in fact have the layouts, but it's pretty insane stuff. The amount of effort that goes into reading that so correctly is quite ridiculous. It's like one of those things where I was practicing Marketplace and I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, okay, I can learn this, and I did. And then I looked at Belly of the Beast and I went, okay, I'm not gonna learn that ever. And so Exile knows that he has to have the perfect read if he wants to win ExileCon. But right now, his biggest concern is winning this qualifier. even though he's already won the first one. We're not going to have the sort of domination that we've seen from Tide 23 on the initial ExileCon, where he won every single one of the qualifiers. Exile did not participate in the second one. But, you know, 3 out of 4 would still be pretty good for him, I think. It's a whole lot of confidence going into the LAN event.
Killer was saying after the first race that he lost by like 25 seconds, and he was looking at it. He is like, all right, I have to go back and look at my footage and look for every instance of 5 seconds that I can save. If I do that 5 times, then I would have won that race, right?
Yeah.
But that requires a lot of patience, a lot of tenacity to do, to be able to like spend just an hour practicing a zone, or several hours, a day practicing a zone to try and figure out all the possible layouts and save that 10-15 seconds in that zone as a result. It takes a huge amount of fortitude, I think, to be able to do that. Most people are just going to say, that's too much effort. I'm just going to blindly practice. And I think that's what most people end up doing. But the top racers, they specifically focus in on those 5-10 second saves that they can do to shave off those times.
Yeah, it's really not like the rest of Path of Exile, where you just kind of like turn on the TV and, you know, chill out and play for 16 hours a day. These guys, they can only practice for so much. Nobody's practicing for 16 hours, but they are probably practicing for like 8 hours of really focused work, and then the rest is most likely layout reads and trying to figure that out there. And we know that there's been a lot of effort going into these events, and it's really showing as every qualifier players are getting better and better, and those times are improving, as Exile is duking it out with Malachi, with Havoc close by, but still having to take down those mini bosses. So maybe we could have an opportunity here to see the glory of Exile in full screen as he's battling the first phase right now. Really precise cremations, making sure that they're already planted prior to Piety spawning. A lot of damage in this zone. You need a lot of fire resistance, a lot of lightning resistance, as those traps tend to be very dangerous. Same for Malachi's attacks. There's a lot of overlap, especially once you've killed the 3 hearts. There's a lot of AoE attacks, but also cold resistance can be a concern. Those little tickly, all those guys right there. Those tentacle things, those actually deal cold damage. Oddly enough, I don't know why it's designed in such a way, but it is cold damage, so that's also not a resist that you can neglect here. And players tend to have a lot so that they can fight the rest so safely. First heart goes down, second heart on the way. Really good positioning from Exile, really good positioning from Malachi too, allowing him to immediately burst after the heart goes down. Third phase, having to make sure that he dodges all the projectiles. Exile would have a very quick, clean, and safe kill. Wow, impressive stuff. Who would have thought? Nice. Exile's pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of skill on display in that fight there, because with cremation, you really want to have it pre-placed so it's already going as soon as he appears from his slam, as his teleport slam. He's got that little bit of a tell at the beginning. You can place it ready in advance, and also the hearts, knowing when he's about to hit that life point and already have a cremation going on the heart to get that damage up. Again, save that 5 seconds in the fight, and Exile looking impeccable in his fight just there.
Yeah, and you can see how much that 4-link really brings, as Havoc is messing around with his inventory, still using white gloves. We'd love to show you guys the inventory that these guys currently have, but everybody's got their profile in private, so unfortunately, even though we have the ability to do so, showing you a private profile is probably not going to be that effective. But if you were to have a 4-link such as Quantrig that we mentioned previously, I think his gear would be a lot better, and he wouldn't have to be stuck on you know, having to min-max with white items such as his gloves right now, which, you know, he does only have 654 HP, which is 150 less than Exile. So despite having that insane belt, those tricky links and tricky sockets and tricky colors will make it so that Havoc is having a much more dangerous run. Really will be taking the don't get hit strategy to the next level as he takes down the first heart. We see Garast currently also battling Malachi, catching up quite a lot, but Exile in the control blocks gonna be picking up a diamond shrine. Oof.
These Havoc and Garast could not be closer right now. We all know Exile's in the lead, and he's already qualified, right? The real race here is between Garast and Havoc right now, who could not be closer. Literally hearts spawning at the same time, Malachi phases happening at the almost exact same time. Looks like Havoc is, if I could estimate, 1.5 seconds behind Garast at the moment in this fight right now.
Ahead. I think he takes it
Oh,
down first.
what? That last little section, he made up the difference.
Yep. A
Gets
lot
the
of
kill
RNG.
just 0.7 seconds ahead of Garast here, and that lead, that's going to be a little bit hard for Garast to catch up on. As we can see, Havoc maybe extending that lead to 1.2 seconds ahead of Garast right now. Although, unfortunately,
Ziggy,
Garast...
come on. 1.2.66 to be exact, okay? Come on.
Sorry, I'm being a little bit inaccurate and fast and loose with my timings here. Garast actually losing a little bit of time in town there. Gets caught on a little edge while he's managing his inventory. May not seem like much, but when the players are within 1 second of each other, it could make all the difference.
And you have to remember, in the second qualifier, when Havoc was sick, he did end up dying in the climb, actually, to messing around with his inventory and getting pinned down by a bunch of goats. So definitely something that he has to watch out for. And these zones are very tricky. We haven't seen rips in Act 4, which is already impressive enough. What we have seen is a lot of players getting lost in the slave pens in the previous qualifier. Will that be the case here? I don't believe so for Havoc. A perfect read so far. A pretty good zone to not get lost in, actually. So I think nobody's really going to be suffering from that here. As we mentioned before, Garast and Havoc super close to each other. And I mean, I think we've got a lot of people cheering on for Garast, as we still don't quite know who it is. I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but who's going to be showing up at ExileCon if they were to win? I think a lot of people are cheering Garast on, despite the fact that Havoc is a pretty big crowd favorite. It's only 649 HP for Garast. Will he even be breaking into the 700s for the Kitava fight? You got to remember that Titykiller got one shot with 800 HP last week. Both players using determination, not something that we've seen from Exile or Keldor, and Keldor trying to make up the time as struggling to keep up. Exile running into a giant shrine. Jeez. Oof.
Little close there for Exile, but deftly handles the situation with a quick teleport backwards out of the danger. Instantaneous reactions, love it, and nice navigation through into his Innocent Spire. Exile again, just showing his prowess, putting to rest any doubt right now in this race. And Garast and Havoc continue to be very close, with Havoc taking a little bit of lead on zone traveling right now, moving already in to the next zone. So Garast half a zone ahead right now. Sorry, behind.
And I do wonder, because again, there have been indicators that Garast really didn't practice Act 4 and Act 5 all that much. He was able to keep up in Act 4, but he's falling a little bit behind now. The players both having killed Malachi pretty much at the exact same time. Garast, despite that, and with the same layouts, falling behind. Mob density, not as big of a factor anymore. So it's really going to be all about your flask management, your leap slams, and how precise can you be when it comes to fully utilizing your abilities to kill those bosses. Havoc, when you watch his screen, those leaf slams are precise. Okay, he gets stuck on... I was going to say that he doesn't even get stuck on a door or anything. Players tend to do that, but not Havoc, and he gets stuck on a door. Come on.
It's your fault, Rise, once again. Why do you do this?
So sorry.
Poor players. Exile
I was
on
gonna
track
wear my
for a
Havoc
very fast Kitava kill here. If we can cleanly get through this Innocence and then the Kitava fight, we could be seeing something like, I don't know, his stream is loading for me at the moment. A 108, 107-ish, maybe? Ooh, could be a very impressive time. We did see a 108 from Tai, but that was with a 1 minute death, so faster is certainly possible.
This is definitely a possible 106 for Exile. It's definitely a possible 108 for Havoc. I mean, this is faster than we've ever seen. Are those acceleration shrines coming into play? It seems like everybody's density was good. Nobody really struggled with links. Everybody's got the single target. Nothing out of the ordinary here. It might just boil down to pure Giga gaming.
Garast is much closer now than he was just 30 seconds ago as well. I was thinking that he was going to potentially lose this race to Havoc just off those slight inefficiencies in his late game play. And in previous races, we saw him get lost some big misreads in a couple zones, but we haven't seen that this race. He's on fine form. Maybe after the previous races, putting a lot more practice on those zone reads. And we see the boss fights once again, neck and neck, exactly just like earlier.
Yeah, Havoc, really, you got to pay attention to his mana flash. This is something that we've mentioned during the cast previously, where we were surprised about the players really killing so many mobs in Act 5. But Titykiller mentioned that is all about those mana flasks, and the mana flask management was just a lot better from Garast than from Havoc, and it allowed Garast to catch up significantly as he was pretty much almost a full zone behind, and now they're at the exact same point in the fight. This is really gonna come down to the wire. This just might be the closest race we've ever had.
I see like both innocences like doing their animation at the same time right now on my screen. It's like exactly in sync.
A friendly reminder for everybody that some people are saying that Exile is in fact ahead. He is ahead, guys. Okay, he is winning, but he's already qualified. Garast and Havoc are fighting to the death right now, as there's only one qualifier after this one, and that just means that you know, we're running out of spots here. So even though Exile wins and shows a pretty large degree of dominance there, that isn't necessarily going to mean that he will be the one qualifying, as he already done so. So that's why we're focusing on Havoc and Garast, not full screening anybody. Exile's not getting any full screen action.
No, we simply cannot, as it is too close for Havoc and Grass right now, and any slight misstep would be too exciting to miss. But this is the perfect opportunity for Exile to really get under the other players' skins, for them to have an absolutely tough tooth and nail race here to try and secure their qualifier. Meanwhile, they go and look at the race afterwards and see that Exile beat them by 2 minutes. That's going to get under their skin a little bit. He's thinking long term, right? He's thinking about ExileCon. He's thinking about, I need to get under these players' skin in the lead up. What happened to Garast? What happened? He's gone.
I saw the stream loading, but
did he crash?
No. Did he not have a waypoint again?
We'll see if it's something that was clippable. We'll see if we can get a clip, but that is very unfortunate either way. We do see.
I mean, that's how he lost the very first race, really.
He clicked on exit game, apparently.
No.
Oh no.
We can't get a clip because apparently his channel is unclippable.
Very unfortunate. We will not be able to get a clip. I believe he clicked exit game there, perhaps accidentally, and not being able to, with it being so close, not being able to catch up, that does end his run. So it looks like Havoc will potentially be having this in the bag. But what that means, but for now, we can full screen Exile as he does his Kitava fight, and we can see a world record being set today, currently at 106, so very on track for a potential 107 finish here, which will be our current fastest time. Very exciting.
Pretty anticlimactic situation there, but it's not quite finished yet, as Havoc still has to get to the finish line and pass it, which might allow other players to catch up. Currently watching Exile, who is battling against Kitava, 831 life. Scary stuff. Those ads can be very dangerous.
Yeah, he's got absolute mastery of this fight. I'm not too worried for Exile here. Look at this time right now. 106.46. We're seeing a 107.30 maybe at this point. Definitely securing his legacy here in the lead up to ExileCon. It is unfortunate that we lost the neck-and-neck race there between the two players due to an unfortunate upset, but that does occasionally happen. It bodes well for Garast, our mystery players' potential next week attempt, if we do indeed see them again, as they had a very fine showing today. And we got Havoc moving up to his Kitava kill, and Exile securing his kill. It looks like at, according to his timer, 107.25 it looks like. An insanely fast kill there. Definitely a full minute ahead of Tai Killer's, just under a minute ahead of Tai Killer's win there. Which, interestingly, if Tai hadn't died that time, he would have actually had a faster time. So that'll always maybe hang over his head as he pushes for future speedy victories. But Havoc moving into his Kitava kill now, positioning perfectly to avoid that sweep. Avoids the punch. No one-shots here. He certainly has less HP than what Tai Killer died with last week. Only 700 HP here. So one-shot's definitely possible. Spending a bit of time in his passive tree there, confidently. Just allocating his passives, getting himself sorted out. As he moves in to secure his win here. And I'm very excited to see Havoc get, getting a little bit on that degen there. Oh no, it's going solo to the ground dots. A little bit iffy. We don't want to see that, Havoc. We want a nice clean finish here, mate. Let's see if he can close it out without any issue. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing him at ExileCon once again.
Wow, now you're caster cursing. I mean, it isn't over yet. He's
I'm
running back
maybe calling
in.
it a
A lot
little
of
too soon.
degen. He's having to
He's going
dodge.
low. I'm calling it maybe a little too slow. Very squishy right now. Definitely doing this
Yep.
at very low HP. Had a nice start with that gear, but seems like a little bit behind on the gearing at the end there. But nonetheless, moves through the final heart phase here. Eats a big flicker strike from the chieftain, but nothing else. No worries. Last little bit. Here we go.
Mhm.
Comfortably reads the slam, the explosion.
That's gonna do it.
Dodges the punch, and he gets it done. Secures himself a victory. Huge congratulations to Havoc for a massive win there and an insanely good time. We'll have to see what the actual time was, but it'll be pretty close to that 108 mark, maybe 109, I'm guessing. We'll see when the ladder updates is the exact what his exact time was there. But a huge run for Havoc there. And he was looking dominant that whole race. Yeah, apart from Exile in the background, doing his secret racing until we discovered his stream. His secret mystery stream.
There's a lot of speculation when it comes to Garast exiting the game. Apparently, he just outright exited the game, and some people are speculating that he possibly thought that Keldorn Racer was actually Keldorn, and he couldn't catch up, so he left.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
we're gonna be able to get a clip of a clip from our stream, I suppose, to really solidify what happened there. I can't imagine that would be the case. That Garast would just give up like that. No shot, but maybe. Nonetheless, a huge congratulations to Havoc. Gets hit with the Exile was first. He already qualified.
I don't think Havoc realized. He didn't know.
He didn't
won.
know.
He didn't know.
He
Bex
knew.
actually had to confirm it. She gave him the congratulations, told him he's not too old, and then he's like, wait, what? He's like, I'm ranked 2? Didn't realize it was Exile actually who won. Oh, Havoc is gonna be emotional roller coaster for him right there.
Did Havoc think that he lost to Keldorn? But it was actually Exile?
He didn't think that he got it. Bex actually had to tell him. Oh my god. I would have loved to have been there for that realization. That sinking feeling as he closes out the race, thinking that he hadn't won, that he was behind, and nonetheless actually had won. Oh,
yep.
Gotta love it. He's gotta feel pretty good now after that revelation. Good job, Bex, letting him know the truth. Keldon closing out his race against Kitava as well. Had a very nice showing here. Looks like he'll be securing 1 hour 11 and 30 kill, which is definitely within the range to put him as a strong contender for next week if he can shave a minute or two off there. Who knows what next race will be like? Maybe there'll be slightly fewer acceleration shrines. But there we have it, our final finish for today. And what a race it was. Very exciting stuff. A fast race. This was definitely the speed-themed race.
The fastest one, and the most consistent among the most players, really. Typically before, we've seen only like 1, maybe 2 players be quite close to each other. This time around, it was all the way through. And also, I don't know if you caught that in the end, but a cheeky type meant from Exile when he won. He typed tie 23.
Who?
So as he exited the stream, very interesting. We're gonna be entering the caster cams now. Hello everybody, it's us again.
Hi.
What an event, Ziggy! Wow, that was really tremendous, and a performance from Havoc that I gotta say I was kind of expecting. I knew something was off. The man was sick. Something was wrong. It was interfering with his practice. It was interfering with his performance. Second he gets good, the GOAT of Path of Exile shows up and will be the second person to qualify. Actually, the first person to qualify a second time ever to ExileCon. Some players might be pointing to Tai Killer, thinking Tai Killer was at ExileCon, but he actually, in fact, did not qualify. He got in there as a replacement for a fellow player, Leaf, who we have not really seen play here, but somebody who might show up for the last qualifier. We're gonna have to wait and see. So
yeah,
huge congratulations to Havoc. What a performance.
A strong return for him here. I was very sad to not see more of him in the previous weeks, so it did sound like he was quite ill, and looks to be on fine form this week. A very nice race. So love to see it. I kind of expected that Tai Particular would put in a very strong showing this week, but he had an early upset and a death there, so his run was sadly cut short, but good to see him on and practicing. And the real surprise, though, was week 1's winner, I'm Exile, coming in and showing a absolutely dominant display there, just for our, personal amusement, basically. Although he might not have been trying to do that, because he was trying to be a bit incognito in this race, it seemed, and it took us half the race to actually locate his stream, as he was doing it quite secretly. But
this is a professional operation, okay, guys? Come on.
You
guys didn't know either. Don't even say anything, all right? Nobody knew.
Hey, even the winner, Havoc, didn't know who he was. Thought that he'd lost the race to a mystery player, or possibly Keldorn, who did not turn out to be Keldorn. But I have to imagine that was quite the emotional roller coaster there for Havoc, thinking that he had lost, only to discover well after the fact that he had actually won, thanks to Beck sending him a timely message there. But what an exciting race. Folks, if you have enjoyed it, there will be another one at this exact same time next week, and that will be the final qualifier for the last ExileCon slot. So players will be pulling out all the stops. It'll be high-risk plays, I'm sure, as all the marbles are on the line. That last chance to win that Ultra VIP ticket, that flights and accommodation, cosmetics, various other riches, online, and a spot in history, and that opportunity to try and take a shot at winning the ExileCon Grand Finale, which I very much look forward to. But thanks very much for casting with me today, RiseQT. It's been an absolute treat, mate. Thank you very much, folks, for watching.
It was a real blast, and I gotta say also, just as a finishing note, Grass sure as hell got really close. So if we are going to have a mystery player, now's the time to really step up. His Act 4 and Act 5 looked a lot better.
Yeah, if he refines a little bit more over this coming week and shows up next week as well, with a showing like that, then we could see a potential 4th qualifier, which would then probably reveal who our mystery player is, as well, we'll be seeing them in ExileCon if they do secure that slot, but it's not guaranteed. We'll find out what happens next week. Anyway, folks, I'm Ziggy D with RiseQT. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye now.